Hello! Welcome to Inanimate Insanity Invitational Player Rankings. Basically, if you don't know how this works, I'm going to rank the 18 contestants that competed in the season from worst to best gameplay-wise. I'm trying to stay unbiased with, how much, with, my thoughts on the characters, and just look at them based on how they are as characters, or how they did in the game. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into number 18. I think in 18th place, we'll go to Fan, which I'm very disappointed to say because I love Fan, but Fan did essentially nothing to help his team and almost immediately got on Cabie's bad side, which no doubt contributed to his early elimination. I think it's actually the reason he got eliminated. Unlike in Season 2, there's really not much good I can say about Fan's game this season. Yeah. 17th place is going to go to Goo. There's nothing particularly good I can say about the way Goo played this season, but there is one really, really bad thing about it, which is the movie he wrote, which their team wasted $10 million on, resulting in the New Thinkers losing that challenge and Goo being eliminated probably by the biggest vote margin in the season. I think if Goo hadn't made that error, he'd be at least a little higher up, but he made perhaps the worst move of the entire season, and so he's here. I hope Goo's a dude. 16. Life Ring. Life Ring wasn't the strongest player, and he could have definitely been eliminated first if it weren't for the team voting for Blueberry instead, but then come the second time the Sinkers lost, he was not a difficult choice for most of the team. During the tiebreaker, his decision to leverage the time he saved Box's life is probably what got him eliminated, because Box initially voted for Nickel. And I think if he hadn't said that, he could have stayed, because, maybe Box would have kicked out Nickel instead. But, yeah. Life Ring didn't have the best game. Anyway, moving on to 15th place. And for 15th place, this was a close one between this player and the next few people on the list, but in 15th, I'm going to put TeKettle. And I think, ultimately, TK's failure to get Balloon on her side instead of Nickel's side, despite Balloon and Nickel's bad history, and then her choice to prioritize helping Life Ring rejoin instead of getting herself back in the game, really drags down her game for me. She spent most of her game prioritizing other people instead of herself, and I think that's what makes me think she deserves this spot. 14th, I'm going to give to OJ. OJ played a strong game initially, but as soon as he lost control of the Thinkers and got Candle and Silver Spoon to target him, it was a lost game. He could have been a really effective leader late into the game, but he just drew the short straw this season. Got on the wrong end of a powerful alliance and, became the 4th boot after winning Season 1. Not exactly a masterful game, but I still love him. And in 13th place, this might be a controversial one, but I'm going to put Blueberry. And I'm putting him here because, yes, he was the first boot, but he managed to rejoin into the final 5, which means he got to basically skip the majority of the show. His strategy to rejoin was, in my opinion, genius, and he was a powerhouse on the one challenge he was back for. If it weren't for his slip-up early on, and in the episode he returned in, he could have easily been in the top 3 this season. But due to his faults, he's here in 13th. Number 12. Box. This one might be controversial, but if we take his game from the perspective of the people in the show, he played a really good game up until his medical evacuation. I don't really know what his strategy in voting for his allies was, because it caused people not to trust him, and if it weren't for his medical evacuation, we don't know how much further he would have made it, with TK breathing down everyone's neck. But, he had control for most of his time on the Sinkers. Nickel and Balloon trusted him more than anyone. Gotta give him credit for that. Maybe he should be even higher. In 11th place, I'm gonna put Clover. Clover, I don't really have much to say about her. She was she was lucky, and her luck carried her as far as it did, and then she eliminated herself. She had every opportunity to use her luck to her advantage and win, but she didn't. And that does make her a better person, but not a better player. 11th place will do for her. In 10th place, I'm going to put The Floor. And the reason for this is I genuinely couldn't tell you one strategic or impressive challenge play The Floor ever pulled off. He's, for the lack of a better term, a little basic. He's kind of like the most average contestant this season, and I think 10th place is fine for him. In 9th place, I'm going to put Test Tube. But the next 3 or 4 are basically interchangeable. But, I had to place them somewhere, so in 9th will be Test Tube. Test Tube could have easily taken Cabie's Smart Alliance proposal and made it to the end. She didn't, and that's what got her eliminated. So, not exactly the smartest move there, Test Tube. The smart characters were really uncharacteristically dumb this season. 8th. In 8th place, I'm going to put Paintbrush, and I really debated whether Paintbrush should be here or one space up, but ultimately I think they made too many mistakes and didn't make it far enough to be super deserving of any spot higher than 8th. I really can't remember something interesting Paintbrush did, and I think it's because they were a very important point of focus in the second season, and I think the writers just wanted to give other people some time to shine, which is fair enough. In 7th place, I'm going to put Yinyang. Now, it could be argued that Yinyang should be lower because he made it as far as he did because of the immunity votes, but then again, he was in several strong alliances and was a generally decent challenge player, so maybe this is my bias showing through, but I think 7th place will do for Yinyang. In 6th place, I'm going to put Bot, and Bot had some next level plot armor, not going to lie, but that's irrelevant to this. Bot spent most of their time in the game in the dominant alliance. Played smart, took risks when necessary, but ultimately got caught in the crossfire between Balloon and Nickel, which I feel like is why half of the people went home this season. There's no real major knocks to Bot's game. I just think the people that I've placed higher had very, very good plays, whereas Bot had some decent plays. Yeah. In 5th place, I'm going to put Silver Spoon. Where to even start with Silver? He did make it to the finale, yes, but not without a ton of major mistakes along the way. When OJ got the boot, and he bragged, making himself unpopular in the team, and when when he almost got Miphone inadvertently killed in the finale due to his inner flame, focusing on spiting Candle for not wanting to vote for Silver, instead of the more pressing issue of Miphone's imminent execution, I genuinely believe if it weren't for that, he could have won. But he did do that, which caused him to lose. I think his general unlikability didn't really help, and I'm not gonna lie, Candle kinda carried him pretty far. Another controversial one, in 4th place I'm gonna put Cabie. And the reason I'm not gonna put Cabie in the top 3 is simply because she was eliminated. She got eliminated, and if it weren't for her rejoin, that would have been the end of her story in, 12th place. For that alone, I simply can't place her in the top 3. Bot did make that point of, that just means she had to work harder than anyone, but is that a good thing? Is that a benefit to her game or a negative factor? In my opinion, the people with the best games are the people who were rarely, if ever, in danger of going home, and Cabie most certainly does not fit into that category. So, this one might be another example of my bias, because I'm not the biggest fan of Cabie, but 4th place. Number 3, Nickel. Nickel definitely had some mistakes, and some moments where he was on the bottom, but the biggest factor towards his game, other than just his placement, was the fact that he managed to get Balloon, who hated him for years, on his side, and managed to get TeKettle out, and TeKettle was arguably more beneficial for Balloon's game, at least if you take TeKettle's word for it, which, I don't know if, TeKettle might be a bit biased towards herself. But I want to think for a second about how different the game would have been if Nickel got out in episode 3 instead of Life Ring, or in episode 6 when it was up to Balloon to pick between him and TK. I feel like he just had too many slip-ups too early on to place any higher than 3rd, despite his pretty strong late game. I might go back and switch Nickel with either Silver Spoon or Cabie, even. Like, move him down. But yeah, 3rd place will do for Nickel. 2nd place, I'm gonna put Balloon. What? None of the finalists are number 1? Yeah, I think, much like Nickel, Balloon made too many mistakes to be number 1 here. As I've already mentioned, kicking out TK instead of Nickel in episode 6, he likely could have just swam through the competition without danger. I think Eggy from BFB said that. Anyway, he could have made it really far without being in any risk if he sided with TK instead of Nickel, but maybe it's also to his benefit because with him making the moves that he did, he was able to prove himself to be a strong player despite everyone's skepticism, and really, honestly have a comeback, if anything. Like, his comeback in Season 2 was cool, but, like, with the fans, but then his comeback with the other players in Season 3 was really good as well. And if you've been paying attention, you know who I'm going to put in 1st place. Number 1, Candle. Now, this, I think, will be my most controversial placement out of all of the controversial ones. And it's because she got 8th place in the actual show. So why do I think she's the best player this season? Because, truly, can you name one mistake that Candle made before her elimination episode that was entirely her fault? I can't. Throughout much of the early merge phase, having Candle on your side was basically a guaranteed win, and what got her eliminated in the end was not her own mistake, but the mistake of Silver Spoon. She played a near flawless game, and the only real knock was that she made herself such a big target. I think given another chance, if she comes back for a 4th season or something, I think she has a shot of making it to the finale or even winning. Okay, now, that's my list. Of course, these are just my opinions, and you're free to disagree. Even I went back and changed some things throughout me writing this. I've got a doc open here so that I remember. And if you'd like to see me do this with more shows, be they object shows or not, let me know. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. That is all. It's very dark in here. I'm gonna go turn a light on. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and then remove your like, delete your comment, and then unsubscribe.